I had to back up off a bit and sit my cup down. Tangeray and chronic, yeah, I'm fucked up now, but it ain't no stopping. I'm still popping. Dre got some bitches from the city of Compton. I had to back up off a bit and sit my cup down. Tangeray and chronic, yeah, I'm fucked up now, but it ain't no stopping.
That's LA.
Dre got some bitches from the city of Compton. Sliding through the city.
Compton's like right here, I think. We're going to talk about ICE. We're going to talk about what ICE might really be about. It may not have anything to do with immigration. They've only arrested about 50 people, less than 100 people. After all the, a little bit more Snoop and Dr. Dre first. Okay, you need to go get this book. You need to go get this book. You need to go get this book. Flavius Josephus, The Jewish War. This is your summer reading. All right, we'll do it again. All right, hold on. Okay, so the book, just real quick again. It's Josephus, The Jewish War. And that's from an arch. There you go. There you go. That's from the arch in Rome. And that's the Roman soldiers carrying away the treasure from the temple. That's the menorah from the temple, the second temple. So that's your summer reading, people. Go get it. It's $14 on Amazon. I read this 35 years ago. Here's the quote on the back cover. Heavy duty stuff. This is like what's your Roman Empire? What's the best movie about Moses, like with what's his name? Charlton Heston. This is like what's your Roman Empire meets Charlton Heston in your favorite biblical movie, Ben-Hur or something like that. So here's the quote from Josephus, who was a Jewish general who then went over to the other side, to the Roman side. So here's the big quote on the back. It is God then, God himself, who is bringing with the Romans fire to purge the temple and is blotting out the city brimful of corruption. There's a good place to start when we talk about LA. Okay, so LA is running around. It's received $170 billion from the Big Beautiful Bill. In my opinion, it's an act of war. What ICE is doing is beyond the realm of law enforcement. It's even beyond the realm of like counterinsurgency, where we have to bring out the National Guard to keep things tame, because there's nothing going on in LA that's requiring this massive show of force. Now remember, ICE was created right after 9/11. Never forget that. Okay, all this Patriot Act, ICE, Department of Homeland Security, all came out of after 9/11. So everything changed with 9/11. Okay, and if you've followed me for a while, you know that I refer to the War on Terror as the Bellum Judaicum, which is this Jewish war in Latin. So I think the TikTok algorithm will let me get away with that, but not much more. Let me say a couple other things. I heard Nick Fuentes on Candace Owens' show. And while I talk about these matters in detail, I reviewed the book Jewish History, Jewish Religion by Shahek 2.5 years ago. I've done several pieces on anti-Semitism on Substack. Obviously, I talk about this book. I talk about the War on Terror differently than most people do. And now that the head of the FBI has a 26-year-old girlfriend, smoking hot little girl. I mean, like smoking hot. Kash Patel has a 26-year-old Israeli girlfriend who's 20 years younger than him. Like, they don't even hide it anymore, people. So America's gone through this big split, and it was the evangelical MAGA community that delivered the second White House to Trump. And really, I'll give them some credit in that they feel massively betrayed about Epstein. But now what they're having to reckon with is that this administration appears to be in the pocket of the Epstein mafia. And rightly so. And they're having to deal with that. Now, I've told you for 2 years that Trump is their slave. And that's why they pierced his ear. If you know, I thought about this walking today. If you know somebody that has a varmint rifle, 223s are either used in M16s, AR-15s, or they're used usually to hunt varmints like coyotes and prairie dogs and shit like that. If you know somebody who has one, say, hey, Bob, would you go out and nail like an orange peel to a tree and go back 80 meters or so and shoot it with your 223 and show me what it looks like afterwards? Well, the orange peel, which is about the consistency of your ear, would disintegrate. It would just go, it would just, like a firecracker was on it. So I'm the only guy on here that speaks English that has told you all along who Trump really is. Trump is a slave. It's in the Bible. They pierce the ear of the good slave in public. So, back to Nick Fuentes. He made some remarks to, Candace said, well, do you believe in biracial marriage? And you may know she's married to a wealthy British guy, and she's a Catholic. Sort of an unusual mix for an African-American woman. And he said, no, I do not approve of that. So I want to make the first comment I want to make about all this is because I'm the guy who's pushed the narrative all along. Not Tucker Carlson, not Glenn Beck, not Joe Rogan. This guy. Have been telling you what this really is all along. Okay? And in a real nice, thoughtful way, this is your summer reading, folks. If you have friends like you went to college with or whatever, like that are Jewish and are on one side of this or other, this is the book we can all rally around. It's not easy for people who don't believe in the Bible to read the Old Testament and Christians and Jews all to gather around and read the Torah. That doesn't work very well because we have different ideas about what that's all about. But this is like every Roman history course, like this is a central text. And the other thing I still haven't said, if I haven't said it yet, I'm not like Nick Fuentes. I don't want to follow that trend of thought. Those are old 19th century racial ideas about people. And I don't do that. That's not what I'm interested in. Okay? So this isn't like Mustache Man. This isn't like Henry Ford. This isn't like Wagner. That's the wandering Jew thing. That's not what I'm doing. Okay? We're doing something else here. But let me tell you, Linda, it may be scarier. I'm just, warning. It may be scarier. So this week, other than we realize they're not going to release shit, they're not going to release shit about fuck Marty when it comes to Epstein. They're not going to release any of it. Because, even Alan Dershowitz is now against it. About how the way the White House is handling this. The Su-35s and the JC-10s, the fighter jets made by Russia and China, this week were delivered to Iran. Iran is now the most powerful nation in the Middle East. You can even apply that to the United States of America. The war on terror, the Greater Israel Project, the Yannan Plan is over. I told you that about 2.5 years ago. You can go up and hit the little button, the little hashtag thingies in the upper left-hand corner, and it sorts the videos for popular. And I think it's my most popular video with 1.3 million hits. And I said the war on terror is over. The war in Ukraine has no reality. The war in Gaza has no reality. The war in Syria has no reality. Oh, this is exciting. Some journalists noticed that when representatives of the state of Israel met with the president of Syria, who's a member of ISIS, he spoke Hebrew. Nick Fuentes ain't going to tell you that. It's worse than what Nick Fuentes is saying. And again, that's why I started off with this quote. So this is written by a Jewish general who fought for the Jews and then for the Romans. It is God himself, who is bringing with the Romans fire to purge the temple and is blotting out the city brimful of corruption, right? This is the beginning of the diaspora. This book is the beginning of modern Judaism. This is why there's Jews in Los Angeles and Jews in India and Jews in Persia and all over the world, is because of what's in this book. The Romans flattened the city of Israel. There's no Wailing Wall. He says that there was not a stone left standing. Same thing in Carthage. The Romans didn't Julio, you forgot the wall over there. You got to bring that down. We can't leave Jerusalem with the wall. Like, it's all Mickey Mouse. Like, they go and it's fake. So what does all this have to do with Los Angeles? So they're running around in these MRAP vehicles with horses and bats and pepper spray and shields and Marines and just this massive show of force. Now I want you to know that from like up here to the bottom is about 25 miles. And if you go this way, like all the white rich people live up there, like Hollywood, like roughly this is where downtown is. And this is all south of downtown. So like the Hollywood Bowls, the Hollywood sign is like over there. And you come across and there's Hollywood, and West Hollywood. And then it goes out and there's Santa Monica and like Brentwood's up there. I used to live there and I was just spent some time there about 6 weeks ago. And then on the other side of the mountains is Pasadena, blah, blah, blah. But this is this massive central LA thing. It's all an opportunity zone, as you can see in blue. The parts that are light blue are contiguous to opportunity zones, so they get the same treatment of an opportunity zone, which allows you to invest there with no capital gains tax for 10 years. Now, if you're a billionaire who just sold a startup or made a $2 billion gain on NVIDIA or something like that, postponing your capital gains is a big, big deal. Now, this is one of the biggest opportunity zones, I think, on the map, and you can go look it up. 16% of the United States of America is in an opportunity zone. It doesn't get very much treatment, okay? The little town that I grew up in right here, half of it's in an opportunity zone. It's very poor. Over the hills, the old steel city of Johnstown, it's pretty much all opportunity zone. And basically, you have to be deeply in poverty to get this opportunity zone. Now, you may have seen that the ICE agents checked into the Marriott, I think it was, in Pasadena. And people went there in their cars and laid on their horns all night so that they couldn't sleep. And then the next morning, the visual of the front, it was a nice hotel. I mean, the Marriotts in big cities are really pretty nice. I wouldn't call them luxury, but they're close to it. It was just all graffiti. I mean, it looked awful. The idea that they're running around like this in this random way, picking off one person, landscaping one guy at a couple people at a Walmart, couple people at at the greenhouses and the lettuce fields. It has nothing to do with fucking immigration. Okay? If they really wanted to do something about immigration, they would say everybody has to go get a card this weekend, and just, you have to have a card. You're not going to be deported if you have a card, but everybody has to have a card, right? There'd be a more systemic way to deal with it. And you know what the follow-on is going to be. It's going to keep cranking up until people not only push back, but do some other things back, okay? Now, as they run these raids through central LA, it's going to destroy all the businesses, right? Not just they're going to lose their workers, they're going to lose the people in the back of the restaurant doing the dishes. They're going to lose the people who are fixing the roofs. They're coming onto these construction sites. And like, I was in San Diego off and on for the last 3 years. There's not a white guy anywhere in San Diego County that swings a hammer outside. Nowhere. And most likely they're doing it to, ICE is almost acting as like agents provocateur, right? They're trying to up the ante. So what will happen next is something bad's going to happen. You can fill in the blanks. Then they'll declare martial law. Now, Gavin Newsom, like most policies that come up, he just looks good and fixes his hair and doesn't really do shit about fuck, Marty. He doesn't. Gavin Newsom, I think, is in on it. I'd say it's 50-50, okay? I think he's part of like the Getty Illuminati thing. There's about 5 families that run politics in California, and he's connected with one of them. He's going to talk a good game and so on and so forth, but they're not going to do anything. And then let me get back into the religious part of this. Oh, but by the way, on Sunday, what are we going to do Sunday? We're going to do 1,000 Years Together Sunday. And we're going to do a real deep dive in the religious aspects of this, but let me just give you a little taste of that. The Pope is pretty close to talking about sanctions, so just leave it at that. The Council of American Bishops has already issued letters talking about the big beautiful bill. It's redistribution to the wealthy, taking away what social safety net United States has, and then also directly attacking immigrants. And in case you don't know it, most people don't know this, but Mexico is the most Catholic country on earth. I'm not recruiting you to become a Catholic. I'm just pointing out demographics. It has like the 3rd lowest divorce rate in the world. And Mexican men have the highest testosterone levels on earth. So that's an interesting cocktail. And what I'm getting at here as I lead into this conversation about the opportunity zones and what I think the real agenda here is, which is very scary. It is conceivable that the American bishops would come out and say, no Catholic can serve can be employed by ICE. They do things like this. They wouldn't excommunicate them, but almost, right? And what would happen is, now that we have the Epstein thing going on, it would almost take on like a religious war. Feeling me? So what they're doing in these very troubled parts of LA is exactly what the IDF does in the West Bank. See where I'm going with this? In case you don't know the math, half of the world's Jews live in the United States, the other half lives in Israel, and it's like 10% lives in Spain, Turkey, Iran, believe it or not, France, and other places, London, obviously. Montreal has a big Jewish community, but like roughly speaking, half of the world's Jews live in the United States and half live in Israel. And I just explained to you that the most powerful nation in the Middle East now is fully backed by Russia and China with aircraft that have shot down the best Western aircraft in India, But that's the little thing that went down between India and Pakistan. See where I'm going with this? Again, these central LA is like 400 square miles. It's, if you're from Texas, that's not a big number, but I'm from Pennsylvania. Like 400 square miles is like central Pennsylvania. It's like, what? Like it takes like an hour and 20 minutes to go from place to place. If you remember back in the COVID riots, there were these weird things that like pallets of bricks would just arrive in opportunity zones. Major name drop. Catherine Austin Fitts. If you don't believe what I'm telling you, by the way, I'm not taking this from her. I'm just amplifying things that she has said in the past. If you look at where those riots took place during COVID, and then there was this weird thing that these pallets of bricks would suddenly appear out of nowhere, right? In the middle of these cities. Of course, people would take the bricks and throw them through windows. She said, if you track where the riots were, it follows the outline of these opportunity zones. She was the former Assistant Secretary of HUD. I didn't steal all these ideas from her. I sort of came up with them parallel. I've sent a couple DMs to her TikTok channel. She's absolutely spectacular. She's using this phrase right now called the Omni War. That's a great word. That's one that I wish I came up with. But I want to tell you how this works. You got to think of this a little bit financially too. And you got to think about why I've been on here for 4 years talking about like there's some Reconstruction, Crowd America thing. We need to be able to buy our own communities. Why? Because what they're going to do is they're going to wreck the real estate in central LA. It's going to go into foreclosure. It's going to lose the people who make the businesses run. It's going to lose its tenants. It's going to lose its cash flow. And enormous amounts of real estate are going to come on the market highly distressed in a place where you don't have to pay any capital gains taxes. Do you see what I'm explaining? They're going to bankrupt central LA. That's my thesis for you tonight on a Friday night, the night before the Jewish Sabbath. They're going to bankrupt central LA, bulldoze all the shit real estate. As you go through it, I went through it and by train and by automobile several times. There's been no money invested in central Los Angeles for 60 years. It looks like a lot of Detroit. There's just been no money. Like the roofs are barely been, right? Now think of this, people. This enormous amount of real estate with no taxes is like 5 miles from one of the biggest ports in the world at Long Beach. This is a very, very, very valuable piece of land. That's why Los Angeles is so big. And I hope I don't think I've really said anything anti-Semitic yet, but I want you to think about this for a minute. Again, like 40% of the world's Jews live in the United States. They live in 3 places: Los Angeles, New York, and Dade County. They're going to set this thing on fire. And one of the biggest Jewish communities in the world is just 10 miles up the road up here. When I used to live there on Friday nights, you'd drive home from work and all the observant Orthodox and, the people that are like in the dress are all walking home because they're not allowed to ride cars after sunset or something like that. I think I'm right about that. So, what's your Roman Empire? Go get this book because you're living in it. They're not trying to get rid of millions of immigrants. They're trying to take over We're a fucking colony. Nick Fuentes won't even tell you that. You just standard, sort of ugly smears. This is worse, people. This is worse. The fucking head of the FBI is probably dating an agent of another country. Openly. Just, Cash is a good-looking guy. Not that great, but, and she's fucking cute. Yep. And the really difficult part is it's some of the most religious people in this country that have fallen for this. And they are going through like the biggest mind fuck of like Bongingo, what's his name? Bongio or Bondingo or whatever, that guy from Fox News, the former Secret Service guy. I guess it's 50-50 now. He's going to leave the administration. But what I want you to do is think like beyond all these little digs, you know. Why aren't they releasing the Epstein files? Like, why aren't they doing this? Because the fucking U.S. government is the Epstein files. And they're going to colonize us. It's already started. Do the math. $170 billion. Let's take it over 10 years. Okay? So we take off 1 0. That's $17 billion. That's 170,000 ICE agents. I thought of the Mandingo thing, but, you know, let's all calm down. It's 170,000. These people have no education. They don't go through any sort of training, like, you know, National Guard's like a year and a half till you join that. This is just, here you are. Here's your uniform. Here's your clubs. Here's this, that, and the other thing. 170,000. It's a force of occupation. We're being colonized. And I just explained to you how the financing works. I mean, the World Economic Forum, BlackRock, all those people talk like this. We're just gonna take over. We're just gonna take over your shit, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, well, what can you do about it? Well, you can join me Sunday. I'm going to do another one of these Sunday. People like, you'll see the Christ head behind me. And I usually call them 1,000 years together. And I mean that like it sounds. Like Jews, Christians, and Muslims have been together fighting, cohabitating, sharing science and literature and religious ideas for 1,000 years. Easily 1,000 years. Longer than 1,000 years. This, like, I'm telling you, this book, like, the more I thought about it, like, I was like, yeah, isn't that a book like, it's like the Jewish Wars or something that I had to read. Yeah, I was like, yeah, it was 35 years ago. And it's, and I forgot that it was written by a Jewish general, right? That's the book right there that we can all point to and go, because remember, I'm going to leave you with this. Again, that's the menorah, and this is from a relief on a Roman arch. This is the Roman soldiers taking the treasure out of the temple, the second temple, which was the origin of the diaspora. The Colosseum was built by the slaves from the destruction of the city of Jerusalem by the Romans. Let me tell you something, Linda. We're in the second Jewish war. And what is the goal? What you hear it all the time now on social media. Red heifers, they're beginning the sacrifice, there's a new Sanhedrin, and they're going to rebuild the third temple. Okay, that war ended the second temple, and now they're trying. That war ended the second temple, and now they're trying to. Now they're trying to rebuild a third, and they're going to colonize the United States of America. And the most vulnerable poor people voted for Donald Trump as opposed to a silly woman who's drunk at 10:30 in the morning, because that's what the Democratic Party gave us as an alternative. Because they're in on it too. Now, lastly, I'm going to leave you with this. Excuse me, I'm going to use a pair of socks. Lastly, I'm going to leave you with this. Israel has a big problem with the ICJ. That's not going to go away. It's getting worse every day, right? America now has a big problem in things like the Epstein list, the potential for the Epstein videos, the contradiction of the Attorney General and the FBI the head of the FBI, Kash Patel, and what's her name, like directly contradicting each other. Like in a court of law, I don't know who would win. She comes out with the thing, Bondi, right? Bondi comes out with these big white books. We have the Epstein files. She sends a letter, if you haven't seen it, she writes a letter to Kash and says, I order you to send me everything you have. And he now comes out with his gorgeous little piece of Israeli tail and says there isn't any. We're in a complete legal breakdown in this country, people. In this thing, 170,000 irregular, police state operatives, it's an act of war. There's no other way you can interpret it. There's not like some sort of riots going on in downtown LA that requires like Marines and MRAPs and shit. No. There's no justification for this other than they're colonizing us. I'll see you Sunday.